Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done a video, but I wanted to, of course, make another video on the channel. I need a little bit of a break, but we're here today to discuss what my predictions are for the upcoming Hisui Arcanine in the Pokemon Legends Arceus game. So if you enjoyed the video, of course, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new with notification bell on when you do, and comment your thoughts and predictions on just the video, on Arcanine, etc, etc. So with that said, also if you want to see any more of these, let me know down below, and I'm perfectly fine to cover it. I figured we'd cover Hisui Arcanine because we've seen Growlithe, and it's the only unevolved Pokemon we've actually seen that is new to these games. Now I get that there's only 2 Hisuian forms that are new, and then it's 3 evolutions, so it's obviously going to be the only unevolved one, but I figured regardless it would be a good starting point because there's the most interpretation there. So first up, I wanted to establish, with first putting Arcanine, I have it again at the end of the box, so we're going to scroll through the box pretty much. I prepared a bunch of stuff. So, typically though, Arcanine's BST, as you can see, it's 555. It's really tiny, actually, you probably can't see it, but it is 555 BST total, which means that all of its base stats all add up to 555 in total. It's Fire Rock typing for the Hisuian form. This is a pure Fire typing. So it follows through the trend of sometimes keeping one type, if not changing both, or whatever typings. Point is, though, is this is a Fire Rock type Pokemon. It is still... Well, Growlithe looked fairly similar. I'll probably put both on screen over there. Forgot how to do the point thing. But we'll have both on screen over there, obviously. You can see the comparison. They look fairly similar, in my opinion. So we're going to run through really quickly, and we're going to first go over basically what is necessary of a Hisuian form, that at least to follow trends with both the Galarian and the Alolan forms. So first up, they need to look at least fairly similar, so obviously that's pretty implied. That's not really what we're discussing here though, but they usually have fairly similar stats. Like as you can see, most of the stats are fairly similar. We have the same exact speed, attack, and HP from the Sandslashes, for example. They both follow even similar ability trends with both evasion abilities and sand and hail respectively, evading on doubling speed abilities. We have the Weezing forms, which actually have pretty much the same abilities, the exception being Stanch's Change for Misty Surge here. But again, just added on a typing, the stats are actually the exact same from these Pokemon. A few different moves, but overall, again, pretty similar. We have a little bit weirder examples with Ninetales, for example, which actually decided to have a little bit more fun with the stats. But again, as you can see, the HP, the Special Attack, and the Phys Def are all the exact same, along with the Spadef as well, actually. So really just, again, a couple stats that change. They both have pretty similar things with the Weather Setting ability, and also then the other ability. This case is Snow Cloak, because there's no real Chlorophyll evading ability as far as I'm aware. Whereas we have Flash Fire on Alolan Ninetales, because again, there's also no real ice immunity. Now to be fair, that could have been kind of cool on Alolan Ninetales, but regardless though, it is the case. And then even still with the Pokemon that got evolutions, I want to cover Persian's line really quick, because we had both the Alolan and regular form for Persian, which again, pretty similar stat line. The abilities, these ones are a bit more different for sure, and then they change even more when you get to Berserker, which actually this one to be fair changed a lot. But again, even still, Berserker still has the 440. So I wanted to put this in here specifically to show that even with Pokemon that have the split lines, this is something that will still keep that same base stat. I thought this would be a cool one to throw in specifically because, if nothing else, this could help establish it for future videos when we go over stuff like Cleavor, for example, if we decide to do that. So I did want to mention that here nonetheless, and I'll probably go over a bit there as well, specifically these 3. But what will Hisui Arcanine look like? We already know it's going to be a Fire Rock typing, most likely, unless they change its typing for some reason. If they really change the typing to anything, it'd probably be Fire Ground, but I assume it will probably keep the Fire Rock typing. And in terms of the base stats, I think at the very least, the HP and the attack will probably stay the same. I think it's a pretty obvious one. I think it'll probably trade in some speed to up the defenses, which could actually be kind of cool. Arcanine has, over the generations, actually taken on a more defensive role, so to see a Hisui Arcanine actually reflect that could be kind of cool, even if Hisui Arcanine itself is not a defensive Pokemon, which I don't think it could possibly be with that typing. It would be cool nonetheless to see it happen. We know for a fact that if we go to Hisui and Growlithe, actually, Hisui and Growlithe mentioned that it's fur hardened to reflect rock, which was specifically why it has the rock typing now. So it would be pretty cool actually to see more defensive Arcanine, stat-wise at least. So my prediction is we're going to take out 20 from the speed and add 90 to defenses, and that's pretty much it. I know it's not like the most out there prediction, but I feel like it falls pretty in line with all of our other ones. I don't think we really need to go crazy with this one. In terms of abilities, I kind of like Intimidate on it still. I think that maybe Flash Fire and Justified could be changed out, but I feel like Intimidate should, in theory, stay. Maybe we'll get like Solid Rock could actually be kind of cool, and I purely say this because of the fact that it mentions specifically the Fur Hardened like rock. So I feel like with the Dex entry, that would make a lot of sense. Other forms that could be pretty cool, obviously Tough Claws could be pretty cool. However, again, if we're going with the more defensive-oriented Arcanine, I don't know if that will necessarily be the case. Flash Fire, I don't think necessarily is a bad fit. If we backspace and just go through any abilities, I want to really quick. So, like, obviously, none of these really work. I'm not going to actually go through all of them. Battle Armor could be a pretty cool one, as we see on a Berserker, for example. I think Battle Armor could also be a pretty cool one, actually. I think that this, in general, would have probably been a pretty fitting ability, actually. So if we do maybe, like, Battle Armor, Intimidate, and Solid Rock, I think that could be a pretty solid set on Hisui Arcanine. If nothing else, it gives it, like, an RU-NU viability at best. Though probably more so PU viability, if anything. If they have a good stat line, and as long as they keep things like Morning Sun, for example, and Will-O-Wisp, I think it could potentially have that PU viability. Though Fire Rock typing is such a garbage typing anyway, there's really almost no way to make them viable unless it's like absolute Glass Cannon, which I really can't see that happening. To make a Glass Cannon work to promote in perspective, they probably need to take out like 10 in each of these stats, make this now 125 speed and keep the 110 attack. And even still, I don't know how viable that would be necessarily, though maybe be like an RU Pokemon. Regardless though, in terms of moves, I actually don't know what really changes Arcanine move-wise. Obviously it's going to get some rock moves. I'm predicting at least Head Smash if nothing else. Head Smash would actually be a pretty good fit, because we actually see that on the Hisui Growlithe that I showcased earlier in the video, it has a little point in its head. I think a head smashing with that could actually be pretty cool, to be honest. I imagine that Hisui and Arcanine will probably have multiple of those. Instead of the mane, it'll probably just have the horns all around its head. So I think that in tandem with a head smash would ideally be pretty cool. That could also lead to a Rock Head ability, potentially. I know that we mentioned already a couple abilities, but Rock Head could be another pretty cool one that fits with rock typing. I don't know if it will keep a lot of these moves, because a lot of these moves actually come from egg moves, and we don't really know what it will specifically be able to breed with. So, for example, things like Close Combat or like Wild Charge, it might not keep it anymore, which is kind of unfortunate if it can't, because Wild Charge would be a pretty cool addition to a Hisui and Arcanine, considering the fact it's 4 times weak to water, and that would be pretty useful for handling water types if it was to outpace them. Especially if it had something like a Rock Head, that could actually be really cool with it. So it'd be pretty unfortunate if it didn't keep it. However, I don't know if it really will. Also goes for moves like E-Speed, for example. I don't know if it'll really keep those. Especially with the fact that it's going to probably be a slower Pokemon, if I had to guess. I can't imagine it having Extreme Speed. Which again, kind of unfortunate, but Arcanine, to be fair, has evolved past these moves over the years, so it's not the biggest detriment in the world. As long as it keeps Will-O-Wisp and Morning Sun, and obviously it's going to have fire moves and rock moves, I feel like it could be pretty useful. This might even be a potentially quote-unquote useful Pokemon in VGC. Obviously being a fire type with Intimidate, it would actually be able to also handle Incineroar. And if we went with, like, let's say the 75 speed that I was predicting earlier, that would actually also outpace Incineroar, which could be pretty useful. Give us some solid niche there, especially as a Rock Slide Pokemon. It would outpace already Rock Slide existing users such as T-Tar, for example, and Gigalith, which are definitely on the slower end. I'd really only get outpaced by things like Garchomp, Drill, etc. So, in general, I mean, it would be a middle speed Rock Slide Pokemon. It could be cool on Tailwind, actually, in VGC, potentially. However, again, probably not the most viable option. And I do want to admit as well, I don't play a lot of VGC, but I play enough to where I know, like, basic archetypes. And I think that at the very least, if nothing else, maybe like a Whimsicott, like Hisui and Arcanine pair with Intimidate plus Tailwind could be pretty cool. Though again, wouldn't really have my hopes up on this being a super viable thing. This will probably be something people try like day 1 or 2, and then realize it's terrible. Especially when things like Lando will always exist in the metagame. But in general though, I mean, Will-O-Wisp could be pretty cool for like a low tier set, as I said. Wild Charge would be great on it, if nothing else. Flare Blitz, obviously, if it had Rocket especially, would be amazing, to be honest. Because the fact that it would be able to just attack with no recoil. So I'm more leaning in favor of Rocket, actually, the more I think about it. Because that could actually help with the offensive Arcanine, especially a Glass Cannon Arcanine. That could actually make it pretty viable, in my opinion. At least as like a lower, like a middle lower tier option, I would say. Overall, though, I wouldn't expect the most out of this Pokemon. I think that in a best case scenario, it gets Rock Head with like a really fast set, and for some reason, Hisui and Arcanine just loses a lot of weight and ends up having astronomical speed. but I think it is so unlikely, so I would not really keep my hopes up. I think it'll be more tank-oriented, and I think it's going to suck for it because of its typing. So I would personally probably be putting this around the PU mark. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my video. If you did, leave a like below, and let me know down below what Pokemon you want to see covered next. With that said, I'll see you guys later. Peace out, guys.